What's up, YouTube? It's Ron from Rohde Law, and in this video we're going to talk about covered land plays. If you don't know what that is, that's okay. We're going to walk you through everything you need to know with my intern Jordan here.
Hi everyone, I'm Jordan, and we're going out to the property today to check out a covered land play. I'm really excited to get out there.
So a covered land play, Jordan, is really one of the best investments for people starting off. And tell me, what do you know about a covered land play?
Yeah, so I know a covered land play is sort of kind of the opposite of a value add, where you're trying to buy a property and add value to it and add different amenities. But with the covered land play, you're more so trying to get a property and kind of do less to it. But
yeah, I think that covers the gist of it. And essentially what you're doing is you're buying for land value, but the covered part of the land acquisition indicates that you're going to get income. And income is critical to cover property taxes. You have maintenance obligations, you may have debt service. So if you're able to get income from a property that you're purchasing essentially for land value, and you project that the land value will increase over time, land investors would consider buying vacant land with no income just for the appreciation over time, but it costs more money. A covered land play allows you to buy potentially that same amount of gain, the same property that's projected to be 3 times as much valuable for the land acreage in the future, but the covered land play allows you to get income in the meantime. And so that's really the beauty of this, is that you make money from the appreciation, not necessarily from the income derived. And for today's property, we're going out to an industrial outdoor storage. This is a pure yard property. It's 4 acres that is just flat, right? There's no buildings, there's no improvements, there's not even a shed or any kind of trailer or anything. And the reason why that's important is because it requires very little maintenance obligations. I don't have to put a lot of money into maintaining this property, and it's going to generate good income while the land appreciates in value.
what would you say are the biggest risks going into a covered land property in general?
Yeah, I mean, the risk is like any other piece of real estate, is that it doesn't appreciate as much as you thought, or if it goes vacant and you have debt service, if you weren't planning on paying those expenses, you have to budget and have the capital reserves to pay those expenses out of pocket.
And for this current property, what type of tenant situation regarding a lease structure do you have?
Yeah, so they're currently on a gross lease, which is not ideal. If you follow this channel, I talk about triple net leases and why they're so great. And then in my own properties, I have some gross leases, but this is an inherited lease, so we're kind of just doing the best we can while we try to put them onto a triple net. So the great thing about a covered land play also is that it applies to multiple asset classes. Obviously, I love industrial. It's all I buy. It's all I talk about. But there are covered land plays in every asset class. Think about a dilapidated small shopping center or outpost retail building. If you have 2 or 3 acres with just a couple of dilapidated buildings, if you're able to buy that land based on the current income, but the acreage value is going to increase, that's considered a covered land play. And there's a lot of these low coverage uses in high infill locations like car washes, laundromats, anything that doesn't have too big of a building on it can be a covered land play in different asset classes. We see this a lot, here in Texas for covered land plays for multifamily. You've got older properties that don't cash flow a ton, but the multifamily zoned land that they're on is very valuable. And so you run into the problem with multifamily of having habitable places to live. They're certainly cheap, but they're not really great places to live, and so you attract kind of bad tenants. And that's what we're seeing a lot, is covered land plays for multifamily development.
Yeah, interesting. Another question I have is, let's say I want to get started with a covered land play investment. How does the financing work?
Yeah, So with a covered land play, what distinguishes it again from just a pure vacant land purchase is that you have income. You may have some improvements on the property which can be financed. It's a financeable asset, more so than just raw land. I do think some of the difficulty will be financing the full amount, and so you're definitely not going to get as aggressive loan to value ratios for covered land plays, because the lender also knows there's not that much money in the income, in the collateral, and so they're probably going to push you down a little bit down on LTV, but you can still get financing because unlike raw land purchases, you have income coming in to service that debt. For this outdoor storage property, you can see that you're generating a lot of rent. It's more than enough to cover your expenses. You could serve your debt, you can pay property taxes, manager fees. There's a lot of excess income. And because there's no buildings associated with that income that's required, you have very little cost. You don't have HVAC replacements. You don't have windows that are leaking. You don't have roofs that need to be replaced. So this is ultimate covered land play when you have zero building.
I agree with Ron. The biggest takeaway, covered land play is great. It's safe. You're not having to deal with any building maintenance issues, and you have that consistent rental income. So I think it's a great investment.
All right, well, that wraps up this introductory video as what is a covered land play. We talked about all the different asset classes and why I think it might be a great investment in 2024, and especially for people starting off in commercial. Once again, smash that like button if you're still watching, subscribe if you like the content.